Hello, and welcome to Does It Resonate with You, the thought provoking conversation show where your hosts, Angie of the ZXUH Method and John the Tarot Geek, figure out what resonates with them while encouraging you to find what resonates with you. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Does It Resonate with You. This week, I'm really excited again. We had a really great conversation last week about playing in the energy. And this week, we're going to talk about all things tarot and oracle, kind of what it's like before you ever even dip your toe into picking up a card, what it's like maybe to buy a deck, or where should you start, who should you read for, what it was like for us before we read, now that we're, experienced readers. So there's a lot to talk about. Really a lot to talk about. And I'm excited, John, today to hear, because we're going to talk first about what it was like before you ever picked up a deck. What did you think about tarot? What drove you to, to pick up a deck or choose a deck, buy a deck? Did you actually buy a deck before you found out that the world thinks that you should only be gifted a deck? Those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this conversation. This is going to be a good one. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Where'd you start?
Well, I grew up in an intellectual and religious household, and so tarot never even crossed my mind. I didn't even know what it was until probably college age or so, and there was the general understanding that it was either hocus pocus or just not anything that intellectuals needed to deal with. So there was that kind of vibe to it.
Right.
Here's how I got the first deck. So my first deck was actually an app for my phone.
Oh, okay.
So years ago, while I'm in the middle of my spiritual journey, I'm starting to explore different parts of spirit, angels and I think I looked at pendulums, but anyway, I had signed up prior to that for something called BookBub. BookBub sends you a weekly email, or maybe it's even daily, of books that are on sale in the categories that you pick. And by on sale, I mean they're ebooks in the $2 and $3 range.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I should send you that, Angie, because I know you don't really like ebooks, but
my eyes don't like them very much. But that's
you
okay.
expand, make the print this big. But I got a lot of really good books, and I learned so much of the things that I know now from reading. And one of the books that came across BookBub was a book on tarot, and I'm like, well, I don't know what I think about that. On the other hand, it's $2.
Yeah, right. Like, so what have you got to lose?
The Dutchman in me said, all right, I'll do it for $2. So I bought this book on tarot, and I decided I'm just going to read every page. Just read every page. Read through the whole book. And by about halfway through, I said, you know what? It's silly if I'm reading this book, but I don't have a deck. And so I went and I bought the tarot app for my phone, and I played around with the tarot deck on the phone, and that was my first exposure to tarot. A $2 book and a cheap app.
Wow. So do you still use the apps? I know a lot of people love the apps. I am not a fan.
I don't like them because I guess once in a while, if I want to draw one card and that's all I got with me, I'll do it. But I would never do a reading for someone else on the app. I have so many physical decks here, and there's something nice about holding something physical. I think the energy is better when you're actually holding something.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. That on an app, I just can't connect to the energy of the deck,
right?
Like, and because I don't understand at the moment. Well, I mean, I understand the concept, but I don't have a full grasp on the framework of tarot. It's really important if I'm using a tarot deck that I can connect to the energy, so that I can connect to the message, right?
Yep.
Like, because that in the end is what it's all about, is you're reading energy. It doesn't matter what anyone else, however anyone else puts it. Intuition is the act of connecting to, receiving, and interpreting energy. So you're using the cards as a way to bridge, from the physical to the etheric, and you're connecting to the energy of the message of the card. How do the cards know? Well, that's magic.
Right. That's the energy. That's the other side, getting things in order and knowing what card you're going to pick in order to for you to relay the right message that needs to be relayed.
Right. Now, well, I do want to tell my story too, but really quick, have you ever bought a deck that you're like, yeah, this just is never going to work? Like, you can't get a message from it. You can't. We don't need to be naming anybody's decks now. But
okay, I won't pull it out, but I've got one right over here that every time I pull something from that deck, I look at it and I'm like, this makes no sense at all.
Right, I don't
It just
understand.
feels like it's not saying anything.
That I had it this morning when I was working with a client, and I pulled these cards, and I was like,
do over.
Time for me to give this deck away. Like, it just and I don't think that negates the value of the deck in general. It just means that it's hard for you or me or whatever for the person to connect with. So just because one deck doesn't work for you, doesn't resonate with you, right,
Indeed.
doesn't mean that you can't that you won't resonate with others. And it's interesting too that in the beginning, especially, I very much liked to buy my decks in the store and not online, because I wanted to pick up the box.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel the energy of the deck,
Yep.
and I can feel that through the box.
Yeah.
So anyway, so for me, starting out, it was runes.
Oh,
so
really?
I didn't actually start with a deck. I started with,
kidding.
Yeah, I started.
I
with
studied
a set
runes
of
for a while.
And I had my own set of runes for over 20 years.
Wow.
Before I bought another set to do any kind of reading for other people. And I would pull a rune every day, or I would pull rune readings. I love, and I thought maybe it was sitting right here, the book, but it's Ralph Blum. No, I can see it. It's over there. The Book of Runes by Ralph Blum. And it's a really interesting book. And that is a book that I read from beginning to end, including the description of all the runes.
That's really deep stuff. All the
runes.
You know what? So real quick, what I really like about runes is that not only are they kind of a divination, but because you can join them together in kind of a pictorial diagram, you can carry that with you as kind of either a remembrance or a sigil or a talisman.
Absolutely.
So you can't do that with any other divination system. The same way you can do with runes.
You kind of can.
Okay, but the runes
if you've not been in a room when I've used the cards to invoke the angels.
Okay. But the cool thing about runes is you carry it with you. In fact, I don't have it with me. I've got a little diagram, a little 3 rune sigil that someone drew for me, that I carry with me every day.
That's cool. That's cool. So I will say this, and I've never been a big one about, don't touch my cards. But the set of runes that I've had for 20 years, I don't let anybody touch them, and I don't read for anybody with those. When I started reading for other people, I got another set. Which is cool. Which is interesting. So, and as a matter of fact, and it's something that I'm starting to do with clients, is one of my longtime clients. In the beginning, I said, you read for other people with this deck, but I want you to connect to the energy of this deck in a way that it can speak to you specifically on an ongoing basis. So the particular deck I'm talking about was Colette Baron Reed, the Goddess, the Goddess Oracle, which is a really powerful and amazing deck.
Cool.
But she was doing readings, like part of her homework was readings every day. And I would give her different spreads, like maybe every other week or once a month or something, different, like all kinds of different spreads, not the ones that you find in the books. But it was really interesting to watch, because we would go over her readings every week, how the same goddesses would show up. And the same goddesses would keep showing up in those readings until whatever it was that they were prescribing, so to speak, was handled or dealt with. And then they would move on. Yeah. So there is really something very powerful about, and this is not, I don't think about not letting someone touch your deck. Like the decks I use to read for other people, I touch them, I don't care. I clear the energy with energy, not smoke, but that's fine. But there's something about that deck in training to your energy, your questions, and it was always specific. Because you know how I feel about just tell me what you need to know.
General questions.
Well, I mean, broad questions get broad answers. Right. If you're trying to manifest, you need narrow questions and answers, right? You need pointed and anyway, so there's that. So for me, the idea of getting answers from something out there, I was familiar with that for a very long time, but I never touched a card. And then when that once again, I am a sponge for negative energy. When that psychic told me that, and I went on my mission to figure out how to alleviate that for myself, then all of a sudden I started having all these readings from all these different people, just really trying to figure it out. Now, the truth of the matter is they were great and people gave me good information, but mostly I figured everything out for myself, which is my MO and how I
that is your MO.
Yep. Right. Yep. But there were people that pointed me in the right direction. So that tells you the value of a deck or of the oracle is so much more than should I buy a new house or should I get the red car or the yellow car, which are all valid questions, right? Like,
yep.
But if you use them to help you figure out, should I go north or south? Should I go east or west? Should I go up or down? It can really have a profound impact. Because if you think about when you make these small, if you get advice that has you make a small shift right now in either the way you think, the way you operate, the way you act, a small shift at this moment is this big, right? But in 6 months, in a year, 5 years,
it's those diverging lines.
Right. Yeah. It can change your whole trajectory, right? So, I mean, it's just the power of what you can do with it. If you can eliminate that fear, right? The fear of the unknown, who is talking to me, who is telling me. In the end, they are paper and ink, right? However, if they entrain with your energy and you learn to use them in that way, wow, right? Yep. I mean, how many times have we sat in a reading or in one of our events and said, you can't make this up?
Right. Yep. Or something. So what I like to see is when we're doing an event and someone does a reading for someone else and it's very clear what the meaning is. And then we pull an oracle card from a different deck, same meaning. 2 minutes later, someone else in the room says, while you were talking, I did a reading for you too. Look, same card. Right. And you're like, right. You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up. Right. So is it easy to understand why somebody new to the oracle would be fearful of such a thing?
Yeah. There's the there's the death card. Right.
Yeah, well, that's in every television show that even has a tarot deck in it.
Exactly,
right?
They all do the death card. But my point is that there's some scary cards in the traditional deck, right? The traditional Rider-Waite deck, which is, by the way, the first deck that I bought. You've got that tower there. Well, here's one, right? The Devil. You see that? Yeah, the Devil.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's a really creepy looking card. Oh, and right next to it is the Ten of Swords. How many swords in that guy's back? Ouch.
Well, I would hope it would be 10, but
it is indeed.
So off the top of your head, do you know when the Rider-Waite was written?
late 1800s, I believe,
Oh, okay.
maybe early 1900s.
All right.
We'll,
So if
we'll
you
have to
think
Google that.
about it, um, people were different back then, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think that people, think about it. You go back to what is it? Is it Germany? We have Santa Claus, right? He's all fluffy and red and white and jolly, and he's got big red cheeks, and his his eyes light up, and
right. Not
his
back
laugh.
then.
Not back then. I mean, they have like, in fact, it's Krampus, right? And
Yeah.
he looks an awful lot like that devil you just showed on that card. So I think that, or if have you ever seen pictures of Halloween costumes from back then?
Oh man, frightening.
My goodness.
Yes.
So perhaps, someone like Radley Valentine coming along and not rewriting the structure of tarot,
But toning
but
down the imagery.
turning down the imagery, I think was a very timely
I agree.
a very timely situation.
I
But
just checked, by the way, 1909 is Raider White.
oh wow, okay. 19, yeah, see, people were a little cuckoo back then. Just saying.
I don't think
Well,
we've
I mean,
improved,
they're a
though.
little cuckoo now, but
I was
you
just gonna
know,
say that.
I think that people enjoyed scary things a little bit. I mean, think about Jack in the Boxes and
Well,
clowns and
even if you go back and read Grimm's fairy tales,
oh my
there,
gosh,
right?
right? Like they're
The
horrific.
children's stories would not pass PC right now at
Oh my
all.
goodness,
They're
no.
R-rated.
Yeah, right. And so we shouldn't probably get started talking about banning books, but that's okay. We'll move
No,
on.
no,
Um,
we'll
but
have another whole
anyway,
episode just about that.
so when you first started reading, did you have any trepidation about the messages you might get? Or like, I mean, I've heard people say, well, I don't really want to have a reading because what if it tells me something bad? So did you have that in the back of your mind? Or I mean, I have
Yeah,
to admit that I
I
probably did
did.
a little bit.
Although you and I both learned from Radley Valentine, and one of the things that he said a number of times in his courses was um, nothing set in stone, for one, and secondly, the if the deck you're using has scary pictures, the meaning behind those cards is not necessarily scary. If for example the death card, death means change. It means there's a change coming.
Right.
The tower means a change you're not going to like, but it doesn't have to mean disaster that you might see the imagery of that card. I have a good tarot or a tower story.
Well, I mean, so I'll say this and then go for it. The tower means a change you might not like. We have changes we might not like all the time in our lives, right?
Yep.
So I mean, it would be good to get a heads
up. It's
right?
A heads up. That right there, a heads up. That's what it is.
Right? So you
might like to know.
Right. So you can pay attention and so maybe you don't get blindsided.
Right.
Because blindsided people react differently than prepared people.
Yep.
Right.
Man, this dovetails right into my story.
Well, okay. Perfect.
You just set me up perfectly.
See? And we didn't even plan it, folks. You can't make this stuff up.
All right. So here's what happened. I'm learning tarot. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm in the middle of trying to run my business. And so business is, it's going up and down, and there's some fear and trepidation about a certain client. And by the way, the cards that keep popping up again and again, we call those stalker cards.
Okay.
I had a stalker card, and it was the Tower, right? So I do a reading for myself, and I'm wondering, all right, what's coming up for me this week? The Tower. What do we need to know about this particular client? The Tower. What do we need to know about my finances? The Tower. I'm like, okay, the Tower. I got it. But it was about this particular client, and I knew things were not well. The Tower keeps coming up, and the Tower is a change you're not going to like. And I had just done a reading specifically about that, and it was like 2:00 in the morning, and I woke up and I thought, you know what? I got to know what is it about this client that I need to be aware of? And I did a single card, and I got the 7 of Swords, which is betrayal. I got the betrayal card. And I'm like, I'm going to be betrayed by someone at that client.
Wow.
And the very next day, it happened.
Wow.
And I was ticked. I'll say it the nice way. I was very upset about that. But I was like jumping up and down like, I got a heads up. I got a heads up. I knew. And I was like bouncing off the walls thinking like, okay, I just lost, a major client, but I knew. I was not blindsided. And that was just the most exhilarating revelation that I was given a heads up. And
oh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
it was truly amazing.
That's what it's all about, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. So, all right. So you're new, right? You've never picked up a deck. You decide to go ahead and pick up a deck. A lot of people, I think, are finding Radley Valentine, which I think that if you can find Radley Valentine and take one of his tarot courses, you'd be very happy to do that.
You know what he does that's really nice? Let me grab one of his decks here. Where is this? I got like 12 of his decks and I can't. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I have.
So just to point this out, what he does on his decks is on the front of the deck, he has what the card means. So
you mean on the front of the card?
On the front of the card.
So instead of it just being an image.
Right. Part of the trouble that people go through for tarot is learning 72 cards. And if you're doing inverted meanings, that's 140, whatever, 72 times, or 78, sorry, 78 cards.
Oh, 78.
Right, there's 78 tarot cards. And if you do inverted meanings, you've got 78 times 2. Thank you. And it's really hard to memorize all that. But if you're using a Radley Valentine deck, you can go by not only the image, but he also has kind of a 1 or 2 sentence summary of the meaning of the card there. Really helpful.
And that's what makes Radley Valentine's decks easy to read for somebody like me that doesn't have the framework of tarot, right? Like, because the messages on the front of the cards aren't the same as when you say, what did you say? The 7 of Swords is betrayal.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing entirely to learn. But that doesn't mean you can't use the deck, while you're learning.
Right.
So I remember him saying that he took a deck and a Sharpie and wrote those meanings on the backs of the cards, while he was learning all those years ago. So it can be done. It can totally be, it just depends on whether or not you want to do it. I am fascinated by the framework of tarot. Fascinated by it. And
you want to just talk about that real quick? How is tarot organized? They've got the 5 suits, right? There's the Major Arcana, which is it's also called the Fool's Journey, and it's 21 cards, and each of those cards are they're very clearly defined what they mean. And then there's 4 other suits: Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles. And each of those suits, as a suit, kind of has a category of meaning. So Pentacles is wealth and physical things. Wands is action. Swords is intellect, and Cups is emotion. And then with each one of those cards, the numbers tend to have a similar kind of a meaning. So the aces are more about pure energy or pure essence of that suit. And you go all the way through. And then the 10s are kind of like the culmination of that suit. So there's a real nice structure. And once you learn the structure, it makes doing a reading even deeper, because you have not only the meaning of the individual card, but the suit and a lot of the other aspects of the numerology in it. So that's what makes tarot exciting, but also a little bit more work to learn. On oracle decks have very little built-in structure, and it's all about the individual cards. And quite often oracle decks have the meaning of the card written on the card.
Yeah, a
And
lot
so
of them do.
yeah, they're quite enjoyable to do a reading on. Most of them are lighter, they're not quite as dark. I mean, not all of them,
And,
but
and I, I mean, I'll have to say, and I love Radley Valentine. My favorite Radley Valentine deck is an oracle deck.
okay.
It's not a tarot deck.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's his
The
Archangel Sword of Light.
Yep, the Sword of Light deck. I love that deck.
Yeah, I do too.
That deck spoke to me the minute I opened the box. Like it spoke. It literally spoke to me. So, I think that if you can read a tarot card, or if you can do a reading with tarot cards without having the framework or the structure of tarot, do it. There's no need to wait to do it until you have all that set in stone. Because if I waited, I'd still be waiting. I wouldn't be doing it. But that's me. Like, it's really interesting. I've been giving this a lot of thought because I can't walk in through the outdoor. I just can't do it. So, to me that's about rules. I am a rule follower. Like, I do follow the rules. I am a tax preparer. I follow rules. Like, I appreciate the rules.
Yep.
So that tells me that it's not actual rules. If there were actual set in stone rules about working with tarot cards, I wouldn't be able to do it. So that means you can march to your own drummer and make it work for you however you want.
And there's a big piece of that. That's the intuition that you have.
Well, there is that, but I didn't start with that.
No.
Right?
Nope.
I exercise that. Everybody can do that. Everybody winds up with a different language or a different dictionary, if you will.
Yeah.
Some people see pictures, some people see colors, some people hear words, some people channel. Most of the time, the information I'm doing is channeling, which will just take a moment here because, to tell you next week, that's what we're going to talk about. The topic for next show is going to be all about channeling and Esther Hicks and if there's any other famous channelers out there. So anyway, okay, so there was a few things I wanted to make sure that we talked about. So one of them was, what was it like before you picked up a deck? You picked up a deck and nothing bad happened. You bought your own deck and nothing bad happened. You didn't have to wait for somebody to gift you a deck, which is something that they really talk about out there.
Yep.
The superstitions around them. I know I have, and I'm pretty sure you have, charged people to do readings for them.
Absolutely.
And then that's an interesting thing. So when you started in the beginning, you started on your own, right? Reading for yourself.
Yep.
And I did that quite a bit. And I remember, well, basically it was shop owners out here telling me that I wouldn't be able, I wasn't good enough to be able to read for their shops, which okay. Which I believed at the time though, because I was new to this.
Yeah,
and,
I guess they're looking for seasoned professionals who've been around for.
Yeah, right. And what's really interesting is that the way those particular shops operate, I wouldn't. Now that I know who I am as I fit into this, I wouldn't fit in there anyway. But the point is, I read for myself, and I think I did quite a few, well, come over and let me read these cards for you and see what it looks like. And then I had my niece who was teaching me energy work at the time. And so we started, trading readings back and forth, or we'd go get coffee and bring our decks and, just read cards, so it's like one of those things, right? The more you do it, the better you get at it, don't you think?
Practice. I had 2 opportunities to practice frequently. One was, well, again, back to Radley Valentine. His group, he would encourage us to practice with each other, which is what we did.
Right.
That's how you and I met.
Yeah.
And then I have a friend here, Dawn, that I started reading. We would go out for coffee and we'd pull the deck out and I'd do a reading. And I got to do frequent readings, just like, okay, what does it say today? What does it say today? And just practicing, just getting in that rhythm of reading. just made it so much easier when the actual time came where I had my first, paid reading.
Right. Well, I mean, because the truth of the matter is, if you really think about it, you are reading the cards, right? But when you're reading the cards and you're delivering the information, that is channeling. It is. Every card reader is channeling. And so the more you practice, the more you connect to that energy, the easier it is.
Interesting.
And the more you build a rhythm, like I think in the beginning that sometimes people, oh, this deck is beautiful, and this deck is beautiful, and this deck is beautiful, and let me get this deck. Oh my God, now I've got 40 decks. And then the problem is they haven't connected with any of them.
That's a really good point. When I found this one here, this is the one everyone's going to recognize this one because I use this every week.
Right.
When I started using that deck very, very frequently, it just became the one that really resonated.
To you. Yeah. Resonated with you.
Yes.
Totally resonated with you. Yes.
Yep.
But it spoke to you, right? Like,
Yep.
people hear me say it speaks to me. I stick my hand in the bag of runes and they start mumbling, like,
That's awesome.
Right? So it's all just a matter of how we each individually connect to and get that information, right? So that's what it is. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
Practice,
right?
practice.
Practice. Play. Don't be so serious. Oh, look at that. Time for a shameless plug. Do we have any plugs?
How about plugging? I'm going to plug my
there you go.
I'll plug tarotgeek.com. Come get a reading from me.
Oh, there you go. Actually, right? AngieZXUH.com. Come and get a ZXUH experience. That's what I do.
Nice.
Could be anything. Could be a card reading. Could be energy work. It could be channeling your guides. It could be anything. That's how I work I just took everything that I learned and put it all together in a bundle so that you can have whatever you need at that moment. So, all right. So that's tarotgeek.com.
Tarotgeek.com.
Sign up for the email list and get a coupon, right?
Yep. There's a coupon. I think it's 20% off or 30% off. But it's a good deal. If you just wanted one reading, for sure, go to the website, get on the list, get the coupon.
How do you deliver the readings? Are they live or are they?
Oh, good question.
Is it live or is it Memorex? No. Do you do Zoom readings or are they email or recorded?
Yes,
or
it's either or. So the live Zoom reading is more expensive, and the emailed reading is cheaper. The email reading I do on my own time.
The email reading, it does not cost as much. It does not cost cheaper.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that correction.
You're not cheap.
There's a price difference
cheap, but no.
between having a live event or
absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, the truth is, if you go online to those like Purple Ocean or whatever, and you can get your $10 2-minute recording, right, or whatever it is. So I know that I know readers that work on there, and they take what they do very seriously. So it's not to diminish the value of it. It's just that it's more production. So being able to sit in a Zoom room, and have a chat. Maybe sometime it would be fun if we brought on some people and did readings for them on the show.
That'd be great, and we could kind of explain what we're doing.
Right.
So not only do the reading, but also take the step back and explain it.
Right, and then you could see the difference, right? Like kind of, because what I do is different from what you do, but both are very powerful, right? One is not better than the other. I just connect in a different way. You have that whole framework of tarot, in your filter. And so that obviously the cards that are going to speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's amazing. So, all right. So that's AngieZXUH.com and tarotgeek.com. Go check us out over there. And then also don't forget to go to doesitresonatewithyou.com and sign up and get your downloadable PDF for Tarot Time.
Yep.
And that's fillable now. That PDF is fillable, so you can type in instead of having to print it out and
sweet
fill it out. So
let's remind everyone to subscribe. subscribe to the
Subscribe to
YouTube
the
channel.
YouTube channel. Yes. I don't
Right
know. It's right down there somewhere.
down
Um,
down there somewhere.
yeah, down there somewhere. I don't know. Yes, and sign up for notifications. Click the little bell so that you'll know when the show gets released. It gets released on Fridays at 3 p.m. Central Time, and that would be 4 Eastern. Anyway, okay. So, wow, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
Like,
I've got some interesting decks I wanna show off too.
absolutely. I have one that's waiting to
All right.
pop out as well. So, do you have favorite authors? I mean, obviously they've heard us mention Radley Valentine, 100 times already. So
Right.
we both love Radley Valentine. Radley
Colette Baron
Valentine,
Reed.
yep, and Colette Baron Reed is also a Hay House author.
Yep.
So Radley
Kyle Gray is
Valentine,
another
Colette
good
Baron
one.
Reed, Kyle Gray. The what is that? Oh, what is that deck? It's not here. Is it the light? I can't remember.
I've got Raise Your Vibration and Angel Pairs and Angel Pair Oracle cards. No,
No, it's not either one of those. It's
all right.
And it's not a tarot deck, I don't think. Well, I'll find out. You show your deck and I'll figure it out.
All right, I have three interesting ones I want to show off real quick. Number one is this is by Teresa Reed. She's kind of like the queen of tarot. She's one of the biggest tarot readers in the world. And this is the children's tarot deck. Tarot for Kids is what it's called. And it's very light. It's very kind.
See, and that's an encouraging, right?
Yep. Here's an example. Here's the musician. The magician. It's a cute little card. And all the descriptions in the book are very much geared towards the young adults, tweens, early teens, and none of the big, heavy adult issues that we deal with.
Right.
So the deck and the book in this one is very much geared towards young people.
Oh, and yet it still has the framework of tarot.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, that's really good. So because you brought that one up, I'm just going to touch on this for just a moment because naturally, this time has gone very quickly. There are a lot of children coming into the world right now who have these connections, who can see spirit, who can see spirits, who can see earthbounds, who are, I don't know if they're more psychic than we were when we were younger. I mean, that it was all over in my house, but I think that there's a lot of struggle. So it's really good to see that there's a deck specifically for kids. And my hope would be, and so we're going to send a little energy toward the publisher and the author of that deck, that everyone who needs it is open, to receiving it for their children and in their home. So that's a great one to point out. Thanks so much.
Yeah. I've been kind of showing my son a little bit about it too, so he's starting to get interested.
Awesome.
Here's another unusual deck that I have. This one is called the Circle of Life Tarot, and they're round.
Oh, somebody I know had that. I love that deck.
Yeah, this is a really unusual deck, and I know the person who did the book. So the books are often done anonymously, but this was done by Jamie. Hi, Jamie. So, but the cards are circles, and it's you can turn them around, and they're really very beautiful, very unusual imagery too. So this is one of my favorite unusual decks.
That is so cool. That is so. I'm trying to. I know that I remember somebody having that deck. I remember seeing that deck before. Thanks for bringing it back to the forefront.
Cool.
So I want to show one real quick.
All right.
Because I want to show. And I'm going to pull a card from this deck too. for everyone. I want to show that decks can be very, 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 very lighthearted and encouraging. So this deck is by Mike Dooley, and you can look him up online. I think it's mikedooley.com. Notes from the Universe on Abundance.
Cool.
And this deck is so lighthearted and fun and cheeky. So this is the one.
I like cheeky.
Yeah, me too. I love cheeky, right? So, all right. So speaking of cheeky, you get to see my cheeky new reading glasses.
Whoa.
I love them.
Sweet.
Okay. So this is a note from the universe on abundance. This is a message for everybody that's listening. And what they want you to know is go way out. Think beyond your present dreams to the dreams you will dream once these dreams have already come true. And when you can clearly see how confident you will walk and how proud you will feel, start walking and feeling like that today.
Wow.
Far out the universe.
That was for me, my friend.
What an amazing message, right?
That was for me.
See? Connect to the energy of who you're going to be, not who you are at the moment. And one of the ways to get there is gratitude. So keep your eyes open. Angie ZXUH Method will be offering a gratitude membership shortly.
Nice.
Anyway, that was a shameless plug. I control the button, so anyway, so remember that you want to connect to the energy of who you want to be, not who you are right now, and start walking around like you've already gotten there. What an amazing message, and something that we could all use to hear at the moment, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, wow. How great was that? Okay. I can't believe this hour goes so fast.
It does.
It goes so fast. We have a little more time before before we do tarot time. So I want to just, make sure that we convinced anyone who's maybe on the fence about learning to read or getting a reading. Like, what would you say to somebody who's just thinking about it? I remember one. Of course, this person I know is a worrier, but I don't want to have a reading because what if it tells me something terrible? And
it's that whole the future's not set in stone kind of a thing.
Right?
Yep. I like that, to keep that in mind, that your future is not set in stone. And if you come at the reading with the we're going to give you a heads up energy, like consider the reading as, by the way, I thought you just might like to know.
Right. And how about this?
Yeah, that energy gives you a heads up, and there's no bad heads up message. It's just there's something here that you can, and then you have the opportunity to turn things around.
Right. And how about this? What if it doesn't?
Right. You know what? The vast majority of readings that I do are very
uplifting and positive.
Yes. Yep. It's funny when I've had to do a reading that doesn't look so good. I did one in a festival one time, and the girl wanted to know about her boyfriend, and it come out there, and I'm like, well, I'll just say this is not all rainbows and unicorns. There's going to be some work here for you to keep things going in the right direction. Let's talk about what that looks like. And so the rest of the reading was, what could you do, and how does this resonate with you to make this change in your life, to make things more positive for you all around? And so the whole thing was positive, even though the cards themselves were not.
And that's the responsibility of a reader, right? So a reader with a positive and fear-free filter, or as little fear as possible, I suppose, is going to come at it from that direction. I've had readings. A lot of it depends on the reader, I think.
True. Yep.
Because I just you can't get a down, dark, dirty reading for me. Can't happen.
Right.
I don't allow that energy to come through, right?
I like that.
Because I mean, because if you think about, if you believe in the law of attraction in any way, shape, or form, and if you look around you, you should believe it. I think that just having boundaries against that kind of energy in whatever form that it comes to you is a good idea. So there's that. But I mean, it's if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck, and those kind of what I mean, those kind of things. And and don't get me wrong, I mean, I used to walk around saying, who was I in a past life? Lucretia Borgia? Like, things would happen to me that were just unbelievable.
Where did this come from?
Yeah, and then when I started doing this work and connecting to the energy, balancing my own energy, clearing trauma, doing that kind of work, figuring out, that laughter, how good laughter and gratitude and all of those things are, that all shifted. When you figure out if you walk in somewhere loaded for bear, you're going to find one, right?
Yep.
And then if you change that, so you can change it, whatever it is, you can change it. And it's, I mean, I guess if it was a runaway train coming straight for you, a heads up is a great idea then,
right.
because you step out of the way, right? Like,
by the way, thought you might like to know.
Right? Like, so that's so good. Anyway, I think in sort of closing, because we're going to get on to tarot time in a minute here, I just would love for people to be open to the idea of having a reading and honestly, if you're listening to this and you think you might like to participate in an online reading, drop a comment on the YouTube channel and we will reach out. Yep. And
on that note, beginning tarot readers always want to have people to practice on. Volunteer to be read for by a beginning reader. Yeah. And you can kind of like learn together. You're going to learn to get a reading, and your reader is learning to give readings, and you're kind of serving each other that way.
Okay, there's some wheels starting to turn here, so I'm going to leave them turning for the moment, and we'll keep you updated on what that looks like for does it resonate with you and moving forward.
Yep. Keep it light and keep it playful.
Right.
The energy is light and playful. If you make it dark and serious and heavy, like, oh my God, I'm reading a reading, keep it light.
Keep it light, right?
Play in the energy.
Right. And you know what? I think that when you first start, I think that's when it's really important to understand how to ask a good question, or to ask good questions, because if you are not, how do I put it? I think you're more likely to draw the death card if you just say, tell me what I need to know, when you're brand new and beginning, right? Like, because you haven't connected to the energy, you haven't connected to the energy of the deck, you haven't connected to the energy of your intuition. So you're going to get like random weirdness, right? So the more you do it and the more specific you are, the more you start to hone in on the energy of whatever, like here. So this is Radleigh Valentine's Angel Wisdom Tarot. And it is by Radleigh Valentine, published by Hay House. And I'm just gonna pull one out without even asking a question. I get okay, you can't make this stuff up. I get the Wheel. That's fresh new start, right?
That's a great card. Yeah,
that's a great card. And the Wheel is actually a big part of the ZXUH experience.
Oh, cool.
I do, right? You've been on the Wheel. Yes. Yep. You've been on the Wheel. So so is this card perhaps telling me it's time to put another one of those out, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, not a great example, but remember, I'm already connected to the
You're already connected, yeah.
So
I can pull a weird one.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably you could.
We should do a topic sometime on how to ask a good question.
Wait, yeah, we should. I think we could probably include that We could include that when we invite people on to have readings. We'll invite a
Okay.
couple of people on and we'll explain to them how to ask a
Yep.
question.
Just real briefly, a good way to ask the question is, what do I need to know about, rather than
X, right?
X, right? Rather than, should I quit my job?
Oh
Yes or
yeah,
no?
yeah, right,
No.
definitely.
What do I need to know about my job? That's a better question.
And okay, so because I'm going to tell you, I want to tell you about this yes or no thing and something I think about it. If you are asking a deck, should I quit my job? And you're asking that deck as a way to shirk your responsibility for your own actions, that is not
Interesting.
going to end well, right? If you are looking for pros and cons, that's not really a yes or no question. I think, let's say in we'll talk about a job for really quick. A better way to do it would be, what will it be like if I stay in the job?
Yes. And then
What
another
will it be
reading,
like if I
I
leave the
leave.
job?
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yep.
not should I, because you're right. Should I is no good for a deck, for a card reading.
Right.
And the bottom line always is this: you are human, you have free will. The cards should not be telling you what to do, they should be helping you make your choice.
Yep. It gives
Right?
you more information, and it gives you a storyline to make part of your story.
Exactly right. It gives you what do they call that? The cliff notes or something. Okay. I'm going to do one more of these abundance cards because they're fun.
Okay.
This one here, and then we'll move on to tarot time because we're at the end of the day. Okay. So, first of all, the images on this deck are just
Wow, that's pretty. Yeah.
So remember, we've already told you to connect to who it is that you want to be. So now, just knowing that behind the curtains of time and space, good things are now happening that for you that will soon spill into your life is enough to make good things start happening for you. Always know this because they are. So this is the same message, right? You really need to have this driven home for you. And whoever is listening, listen. Connect to the energy of what you want, of who you want to be, where you want to go. The stuff is already there. It's just behind the curtains. So make your way to the curtains, throw those things open, and have at it, right? It is time. It is time. Oh, I love this deck.
Cool.
So remember, Notes from the Universe on Abundance by Mike Dooley. He's kind of trippy, if I remember. He's got a website. So
cool.
Check it out. Anyway, all right. Well, here we are. Now it's time for tarot time.
All right.
Tarot or tarot? What is it?
I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I usually say tarot, but every once in a while I found myself saying tarot. That's usually after I listen to Valentine. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, he does say tarot, I think, more than anything else. So maybe it's one of those words that depends on how you're using it. Sounds different.
Or where you're from.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, before you move on, listen, thanks everybody for listening this far. Don't forget now you're going to listen to Tarot Time. And don't forget to go over to doesitresonatewithyou.com, sign up for the email list, and download the PDF so you can start filling it in and moving along. And if you go to the Tarot Geek YouTube channel, I think most of the Tarot Times are already on there, right?
Yeah, I've been putting them out there specifically. I think I've got almost all of them there. I'm missing a few, but we're making progress.
We'll catch up and
we'll get caught up
there. Yep. So excellent. All right.
What we're doing, just as a brief recap, we're going to make our way through the entire tarot deck, one card at a time, sometimes two. And instead of going like card by card through the entire sequence, I like to pull a card for the day. We're going to use that as our card for the day and then learn the meaning of the card. So today's card, by the way, the deck I'm using, as the same as always, is the Lightseers Tarot by Chris-Anne, favorite deck of all. And today's card is the Nine of Pentacles. So if you'll remember, the Pentacles suit is all about money and physical things.
Wow. Okay.
And the nines are the near completion It's kind of like the culmination. So imagine, what would the culmination of your finances look like? That's a pretty big thing, right? So the meaning of this card is personal achievement, milestones met and celebrated. So this is kind of like the material and spiritual bliss card. So one of the another ways to look at it is treating yourself as well as you treat the people you love, and the universe treating you. It's the result of your hard work and your perseverance. So hard work, perseverance, personal achievement, and milestones met and celebrated. It's, if you look at, I like the picture of the card. It's very much a celebration. She's hanging up those pentacles and smiling, and there is a white dove there. She's celebrating. She's enjoying the results of her hard work. And the mantra for this one is, I enjoy the bliss and abundance that I have sown.
That, and there you have it, right? In a nutshell. Like, you know, because you know me, there's no poof. Right? There's
right.
no poof.
There's the hard work that gets you.
Hard work.
Yep.
Right. You have to do the work, but look at what you can achieve, what you can accomplish when you do the work. That's amazing. What an amazing. Wow. Like, it's really fascinating to me how we're building. So did you actually say it? And I might not have written it down. The Nine of Pentacles. What is the meaning of the Nine of Pentacles itself? You know, like how you said the what did you say earlier? The seven.
So the aces are like the pure essence of that suit.
Right. No, but you said the seven was the betrayal card. Like,
right.
So what is this one?
So this one would be the milestones met and celebrated.
Okay. Oh, okay. So like an ending, really.
Yep. Right. It's very much an ending.
And a very different kind of ending.
A good ending.
Right. So let's say you got the Death card and the Nine of Pentacles in the same reading. That would be like, not only did you work hard and finish something, now you finished it so well that you're going to be starting something new.
Right. You got a big change coming up ahead, and it's a good one.
There you go. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yep.
You know, you can't make this stuff up, right?
No,
you just can't make it up.
Yeah, this really is my sweet spot, I think, in the metaphysical world is the tarot and the card reading. I think this is really it's my home.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can totally understand that. I you know, sometimes I look at people who do one thing, right? Do one thing and do it well, and I think, you know, but I spent a lot of time trying to pattern myself after people around me, and I was not happy. I was happy when, and I'll say his name, Mooney, because I'm going to be on his podcast pretty soon.
Right.
I'm on one of his episodes. When he gave me permission to take everything I do and combine it together into something that is
uniquely yours.
Unique to me. And so, like I think I've said it already before, I've been working on the concept, but the idea is that I am the glue that fills in all the spaces in between all of the different things that people do. So, you know, if somebody's working on trauma, I would send them to this person for this and that person for that. You know, when you're doing this doing this spiritual work, you don't necessarily work with only one person. You work with a lot of different people, right? You have a favorite tarot reader. You've got a favorite energy worker. You've got meditations that you love. You have all these things. And so I want to be the person that comes along and says, okay, well, you've done all that. That was hard. I want you to have a little bit of fun and fill in the gaps, right? So anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be amazing to watch as the shows were today. What is it? Episode 18? Is it 17? Isn't that
17?
Terrible?
17.
Okay, so next week will be 18. So, you know, as we do this and as we progress, I think it's getting easier to do. and for me more interesting, just because we're not as tentative, like
Right.
this is kind of just like sitting across the table and having a cup of coffee or something,
Yeah.
and getting into it. And some of my favorite conversations have been like that,
Yeah.
where it just kind of
It
rolls and
flows.
flows,
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, well, we're closing in on the end of the show for today. So don't forget, subscribe, and then click the bell for notifications. Pop over to tarotgeek.com and check that out. Pop over to angiezxuh.com and check that out. And go to doesitresonate.com, sign up for emails, and get your PDF for Tarot Time. And then we'll see you next week when we talk all about channeling.
All
That
right.
is going to be fun too.
I know.
You never know who you're going to get to hear from then. So that'll be an interesting conversation as well. I'm looking really forward to it. And thank you so much, John. I had a great time as
Thank you,
always.
Angie.
And we will, see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to Does It Resonate With You, the thought-provoking conversation show with your hosts, Angie of the ZXUH Method and John the Tarot Geek. Please help us out by clicking the subscribe button here on the YouTube channel. We appreciate your support.